Welcome back to Ultimate Postman. My name's Lance. You can just call me Postman. My channel is variety content. I do video production stuff, I do tech stuff, I do ultimate content, but my primary job is fixing computers day in and day out. That's what pays my bills. And today I just want to talk about a few things that really grind my gears from computer manufacturers, and some of it might just be personal preference, but let's get into it. So here's an example of a personal preference, and it's just not worth the cost in my opinion. Liquid coolers are overrated and not convenient, and they are very risky for your system. This computer came in with a bad liquid cooler. The pump is bad, so it's not getting cooled. I have seen liquid coolers leak from around here, leak from down here. I've seen clogged radiators, and I've seen some custom ones too that leak from everywhere. I had a system with a clear front and it was leaking from down here. In my opinion, a beefy intercooler is more than sufficient for just about every computer need. So in order to not risk having a future computer repair, this system's getting a decent beefy intercooler that's not going to have a failure of a pump or bad liquid or risk a leak, which I've seen a lot of computers have leaks in their AIO systems. Also, pet peeve, if you're doing your RAM like this, you have empty, full, full, empty. You should be really using a empty, full, not using the slot next to the processor unless that fourth slot out is bad. Okay. First real gripe with computer manufacturers. What does this Dell, this HP, this Dell, this Alienware, which is actually a Dell, and this Lenovo all have in common? It's the fact that they're all using a specialized, customized power supply for their system and not a standard power supply. They'll have like a 10 pin or 8 pin or 12 pin plus the 4 pin or 6 pin instead of the 20 plus 4 pin and then the CPU 4 plus 4 pin. They are not common power supplies, and when we're trying to diagnose these systems, it makes it hard to diagnose because now we have to order those power supplies. I understand that you can jump pins on the power supply to get the power supply to turn on, but I personally would much rather have a part and test it for sure, not just to see if the power supply is going to spin up, because I've had systems that looks like it's a motherboard issue when it's actually the power supply that's out. Here's another one. The difference between these two cases is that sticker up there. I am tired of manufacturers no longer putting the Windows key on the case. This is extremely important because when you have to clone over one computer to a new computer, or you have to do a fresh install of Windows and it doesn't store your Windows key in the BIOS, or you're doing a clone and it's a different version than what the computer comes with, you have to go find and dig up a key if the customer is not providing a key. Or you have to go out and pay for one and then charge the customer more for a key that they should already have. What grinds my gears is when manufacturers have the LCD and the digitizer stuck together. I understand that they do it because they don't want to have dust stuck on the inside, and it makes it look a little bit cleaner, but come on. Now we have to spend more, customers have to spend more if their digitizer is broken. And if it's like something like this, where you want to get the bezel installed, this one, the bezel is actually too far forward, so the webcam doesn't stick in there properly if you don't get an OEM bezel. Can you tell me the similarities between these two different HP keyboards? It's actually on the back right here. These right here, and on the other one, those right there. It grinds my gears that keyboards are not as easily replaceable now like they used to be. And sometimes you can get a model of laptop where the keyboard is easily replaceable, but you have to remove everything from the inside in order to remove the keyboard if it's not riveted like this. I'm looking at you, Dynabook. And don't get me started on Apple keyboards. Not only is it the same way with all their modern systems, but their batteries are glued on to the palm rest. Come on, Apple, do better. And when we're talking about Apple, if you have to remove or replace a logic board, it's Apple's term for a motherboard. Apple is a pretty bad offender by having all the cables go around the motherboard and under it, especially for the display cable down here, which means that a repair that should be pretty quick takes a lot longer. Oh, and don't get me started about how many screws that Apple requires you to take off for a simple display replacement. Or one of these older MacBooks where you can actually replace the keyboard without having to replace the palm rest. There's seriously 70 or 80 keys you have to remove the keyboard alone. And the final gripe of this video is if you're building a laptop, if you're building a desktop, if you're going to give us a solid state drive. I'm not talking about Apple integrating the solid state drive. I'm not a big fan of having integrated solid state drives in the computer, the same thing as RAM. Manufacturers, please Don't give us the NGFF style of M.2 SATA, give us NVMe. These are really just SATA-based drives. They run only up to 600 megabytes per second. These can go up to several thousand megabytes per second. Give us NVMe storage. And of course, don't get me started on proprietary storage like what Apple does with their older MacBook storage devices, or what they have integrated into your iMacs, or the nearly impossible to get data off of 2017 MacBook drives. By the way, if you have an adapter, you know where to get an adapter for the 2016-2017 MacBooks, let me know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate y'all stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.